Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here with us at the Artist Talks by the Eyes. I'm Federica Chiocchetti and I run the photo captionist dedicated to word and image. And I'm here tonight in the great company of Turkish visual artist Cemre. I'm going to mispronounce your surname, I'm afraid. No, Yesil, Gonenli. Right, thank you. And Cemre, she holds an MA in visual arts from Sabancı University, and she's the founder of Phil Books, which is a beautiful publishing house and bookshop dedicated to photo books in Istanbul, and I can't wait to visit it. She's currently lecturing on photography at Falmouth University on the MA, and at the Istanbul Bilgi University in the BA. We are here to talk about two books, so it's even a bigger challenge, because already 15 minutes for one book is impossible, imagine for two. So we'll try our best. The books that you see there, one is entitled, can you say it with the right pronunciation?
Hayal and Hakikat.
Hayal and Hakikat, Dream and Fact,
Yeah,
right?
that's the term.
And which was very well received, because I see here a list of, it won the best photo book of the year at Photo España this year, and it was shortlisted for Paris Photo Aperture last year. Then the historical category in Rencontre d'Arles. So it got quite a lot of attention. And the other book, it's called Double Portrait, and it's a photo text project on which, full disclosure, we work together, also with the amazing editor Gonzalo Golpe. They are the first one is published by Ghost and your publishing house, and Double Portrait is mainly published by your publishing house, and they're both available at the Ghost book stands and
Phil Books at Polycopies.
Polycopies. Perfect. Yeah. So I would like to start with the green one, Hayal and Hakikat, and I wanted to ask you if you could tell us the story behind the book, because it's a very conceptual, historical, kind of a very specific, anecdotal story, and it would be great if you could share it with the audience.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here instead of somewhere else in this whole crazy photography world. The story of this green book, Hayal and Hakikat, basically actually was a commissioned body of work, but it was very open-ended. I was invited by Salt Beyoğlu to produce a body of work departing from an encyclopedia that is called the Encyclopedia of Istanbul, which is my city. And we were, commissioned to kind of depart from one of the entries in the encyclopedia. And what I did, I went straight to photography, which was in the very last zine. And there I just learned a very crazy information that was kind of, that can be follow and fall into the story. And there it spoke about the fact that one of the latest sultans, Abdülhamid II, he planned an amnesty to celebrate his 25th anniversary of his crown. And for that, he planned an amnesty to free people from jail. And for this very purpose, he ordered prisoners to be photographed so he would choose who to free by looking at those portraits. And this was already very crazy for me. I was so curious to know, how they looked and how they were portrayed for a possibility for forgiveness to be free again. And but I didn't know if the archive would still exist. So what I did, I traced down the archive. I found it. But then what was very interesting for me was that, as you see here, the hands were always a little bit too much in front, which is not a natural way of posing. So, but I didn't know why. But it was very obvious that it was a brief given to the photographer. So basically, I again kind of researched this, and then I realized that actually he was basing his theory, a pseudoscientific theory, which is very absurd, of course. But if the first joint of your thumb, if it's longer than your index finger, then it's more likely you can commit crime. So this is how he was deciding his decision for freedom. Whereas in the second part of the book here, you see prisoners that have nothing to do with this amnesty, but they are sentenced to death, so they're going to die in prison. So I liked, I wanted to make a visual clash in between this idea of forgiveness and punishment in a way. So this was kind of how it developed.
But then you dedicate the book. Can you read us your dedication?
My dedication, yeah, sure. This book is dedicated to bright people who are arbitrarily convicted or had to depart from this beautiful land in these difficult times that Turkey is going through.
So I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about how past and present link in this project through this dedication.
Well, it's an archival body of work. What I did was just actually to scan these images and to crop the heads of the prisoners. But, I did it. Although it's an archival body of work, for me it was like a silent protest about the current political climate in Turkey and also many other countries that have some sort of dictatorship, although it looks like democracy perhaps. So in a way, through archival imagery, through contextualizing the archive, I wanted to, just make my own protest because I just have, we just became very politicized, and I think that kind of disturbed me, but I also don't see myself as a very politically active person because I don't see any point with having tear gas or, all these water cannons. So it was just like, my way of rewriting the history in a way.
And then with the book, inside the book there is a print with a special text. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want, you can, maybe I give the book around and you might go, but at the very end of this book, you have a print that you can detach the image from the book. It would come up here soon, I guess. But this was an image I found in the same archive where we see an executed prisoner in the middle and two soldiers in both ends and other prisoners. And this image was a very brutal image that just made me ask a lot of, it's this image? Yeah. So you see this man has been killed. And I was just like, I don't know, every time I see this image still I have goosebumps. It just makes me question both the medium of photography and, the purpose of this image. Who was it made for? Why was it made? So in a way, I wanted to share the brutality of this story by making this as a separate image that you can have a closer look at.
Okay. And I wonder, the decision of cropping the heads. Can you tell us a bit more about it? Because it's quite a strong intervention. Yeah,
it had two reasons, I guess. The main reason, I think I didn't want to re-record these criminals as prisoners, in a way. And it was kind of my way of freeing them in a metaphorical way. And also, I mean, although all these people are dead now, I think it had to do with some sort of respect. And also to kind of push that the reader could emphasize a bit, to kind of develop some sort of empathy that you can be this if you're against the government. So yeah, that was the reason.
And this connects quite nicely with the other book that we are briefly going to touch upon, Double Portrait, which was originated by your fascination with hidden mothers, Victorian photographs. And also, it's a fascinating way of how to transform an unfinished PhD. And I know the pain of PhDs, so I really know what you're talking about, into a beautifully artistic, conceptual, theoretical, historical book that really has so many layers and explores the relationship between mother and son, so motherhood, but also the fear of losing our own mothers. I wonder if you could tell the audience a little bit about how it feels now to see this research become like this beautiful object that mingles all these different layers.
Well, thank you, and you deserve a thank you here too, because you saved me. I mean, in the book it's written, Federica helped me to kind of rework on the whole text of the book, so that was a huge contribution. Yeah, well, I guess I was fascinated with this hidden mother tradition, which some of you might know. There are many other artists who looked at this tradition. But in a way, in this work, I think I recontextualized the phenomenon. Just for the ones who don't know, it's basically, in order to take a photograph of a baby in 19th century, somebody had to hold the baby so that, the baby is still during the exposure time. And then you see the mother in the back as like a black mountain covered with a fabric. So this imagery just made me question a lot about who the mother is beyond our subjective experiences, and what a mother mean. And it was mainly the research. The PhD part started with historical investigation, and also actually the research question was around what makes an image double portrait. When do we see two people, what is the difference between, if I see just you and my hand, is it about our relationship, or is it about just, you and me? So this was my research part, but in the way the language changed, both the textual and the visual language. And for me now, it's such a relief because I started this almost 10 years ago, and I had to stop working on it because I couldn't resolve it for a long time. And thanks to...
And meanwhile, you became a mother as well. So you had a first-hand experience.
Yeah, that I think also kind of pushed me to go, to have the courage to go back and kind of, solve the narrative a little bit. Because I always looked at it from the child's perspective, whereas when I became a mother myself, I think I suddenly had another perspective. So yeah, I defined the whole work as almost like, the absence of mother. And you were the one who decided to put the sentence in the back of the book, which is written here. So yeah, this is kind of the short story of it.
It's kind of dangerous, this book, because everybody who gets to touch it or work on it gets pregnant, because when you then commission me to work on it, I also found out that I was
crazy. The designer of the book got pregnant, you got a baby, so everybody who worked for this book suddenly had
be
babies.
careful. If you don't want kids, don't touch this book, basically. I'm just joking. Yeah. And so you're doing a book signing of the two of them.
The books signings actually happened, but the books are available both here at Ghost Books and also at Phil Books and Polycopies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to, I'm sorry,
it's
50 minutes is over, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much for everyone for being here. Thanks.
And after sanitizing the